Have you ever just felt like your relationships are stuck on a loop? Like you're living in Groundhog Day, but with your love life? For anyone on a journey of personal growth, or maybe you're seeking therapy right now, this is a massive pain point. We've got to ask ourselves, why do we keep finding ourselves in the exact same unfulfilling dynamic, just with different faces and different names?
Well, to understand this, let's look at a guy named Alex. Picture Alex sitting in a dark theater watching an absolutely terrible 2-hour movie. I mean, he hates it. The plot makes zero sense. The acting is awful. But he stays in his seat anyway. Why? Because he already paid $20 for the ticket. It's a completely relatable, everyday situation, right? We have all done something kind of like this.
And honestly, that brilliantly illustrates our first concept, the sunk cost fallacy. In relationships, just like with that bad movie, we often stick with an endeavor simply because of the resources we've already invested. We do this even when the emotional costs far outweigh any benefits. Alex feels totally obligated to stay in a painful relationship just because he's already put in years of his time, his money, and a tremendous amount of emotional energy.
But, it actually goes way deeper than just the time and energy we've spent. We need to look at the psychological roots. The famous psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud actually coined a term for this, repetition compulsion. This is basically the unconscious tendency of a person to repeat a past traumatic event, or the circumstances around it, over and over again. Freud noticed something super fascinating about human nature. He said that a patient doesn't simply remember a repressed past. Instead, they act it out. Think of it literally like a broken record. Instead of just acknowledging a difficult early life pattern, we unconsciously recreate it. We just endlessly replay the same scratch on the vinyl through our current relationship choices, without even realizing we're doing it.
Which leads us right into William Swann's self-verification theory. As humans, we have this profound drive for psychological coherence. We actively seek out partners who validate our existing self-views. And here is the real kicker. We do this even if our own self-views are completely negative.
Think about Alex again. If he believes, deep down, that he's unworthy of kindness, he is going to unconsciously seek out a partner who treats him poorly. Why? Because it aligns perfectly with what he already believes about himself. It's exactly like putting on a scratchy, totally uncomfortable sweater just because it's the one you've worn every single day. That familiar emotional discomfort, paradoxically, feels much safer and a lot more predictable than the vast, unknown territory of being loved unconditionally.
To put some data behind this, let's talk about Swann's famous Mr. Nice versus Mr. Nasty study. Participants interacted with evaluators who either praised them or criticized them. When you look at the numbers, people with a positive self-concept overwhelmingly chose to interact with the favorable evaluator. Makes sense, right? But get this. Those with a negative self-concept actually preferred the unfavorable evaluator. They actively chose the person who confirmed their own negative self-image, literally reinforcing their identity through their choice of partner.
Now this brings us to another sneaky hidden trap, secondary gain. Sometimes, believe it or not, we actually get unconscious benefits from remaining in a difficult situation. By staying in a dysfunctional loop, Alex might be receiving hidden comforts. Maybe he's getting extra attention from friends, or he's avoiding the really scary responsibility of moving on, or maybe just escaping judgment. These hidden gains become a massive unconscious roadblock to his personal growth.
And when these deeply ingrained habits are continually reinforced, it can evolve into what we call trauma bonding. This is an incredibly intense emotional attachment formed with the very person who's causing us harm. And it happens, in part, because of our biology. Small moments of affection following intense periods of stress actually release dopamine and oxytocin in the brain. This gives you a quick, addictive hit of relief that literally glues you to the source of your pain.
So how exactly does this trap work? Well, it usually starts with love bombing, just intense affection that builds really deep trust and dependence. Then over time, the cycle slowly shifts into criticism and manipulation, which makes the person start to doubt their own reality. This ultimately leads to resignation and, sadly, a total loss of self. The person completely loses touch with their boundaries and becomes emotionally addicted to this continuous loop of pain and temporary relief.
Now, as Alex begins to realize he's stuck in this predicament, he hits a major mental crossroad. He has to learn to distinguish between healthy reflection and unhealthy rumination. According to psychologist Nick Wignall, our need to relentlessly ruminate on a toxic relationship is often motivated by a fear of helplessness. When bad things happen that we just can't fix, we absolutely hate feeling helpless, so we spin our wheels endlessly in our minds. But, that just keeps us trapped. But hey, here is the turning point. Just recognizing this cycle, that is absolutely the first step to breaking free. Acknowledging that you're caught in a sunk cost fallacy, or a repetition compulsion, or a trauma bond, it's incredibly hard to admit. But shining a light on these unconscious patterns is exactly what opens the door to healing. It empowers your personal growth.
So how do we actually rebuild? Well, here's a really straightforward step-by-step healing journey. For someone like Alex trying to overcome these deep habits, this means first acknowledging the cycle. Second, limiting or completely cutting off contact. Third, building a really strong support system around him. Fourth, actively unlearning those harmful negative views of himself. And finally, trying therapy. Therapy provides a safe, structured space to process trauma, redevelop self-worth, and finally lift the needle off that broken record.
Okay, so let's break down 3 really practical tips to help stop these cycles in their tracks. Tip number 1.
Clarify your values. Seriously, ask yourself, what do you genuinely want your future to look like? What are your ambitions? As Nick Wignall points out, it is nearly impossible to move away from what you don't want if you haven't taken the time to clarify what you do want. You need a crystal clear vision of your own goals to pull you forward.
All right, moving on to tip number 2.
Evaluate your present and future fulfillment over your past sacrifices. This is exactly how you tackle that sunk cost fallacy head-on. Do not look at the years you've spent or the movie ticket you already bought. Look completely objectively at your present happiness right now and the actual likelihood of positive change in the future. And finally, tip number 3. This one's a quick mental short circuit for those exact moments when you find yourself completely stuck in a negative rumination loop about a past or current relationship. Just remember the 3 M's to stop rumination immediately. Move, make, meet. When you're spiraling in your head, move your body, go for a walk, do a dance, just get out of your head. Make something, even fixing a leaky faucet or baking cookies. Just engage your creativity and productivity. And meet with someone. Genuine social connection is honestly one of the most powerful tools out there to quickly unstick your mind.
Which really brings us to our final thought. I want to leave you with a pretty provocative question, just to challenge how you view your own relationships moving forward. Ask yourself honestly, are you holding on because of love and shared growth? Or are you just playing the same broken record? The power to lift the needle and choose a completely new track is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me.